joining. AJ shook Shohei Ohtani's hand, said hello to
Roki
Sasaki. Yep,
and Roki.
I got Yamamoto.
My hand is for sale, by the way, on eBay. Who wants to buy my hand? It touched Shohei and Roki today.
You might want to qualify that you shook
just a handshake.
Hands.
Hi,
okay.
how are you? Shohei was eating his eggs, getting bigger. And we have the GM of the Los Angeles Dodgers, who gets to shake everybody's hand here, Brandon Gomes.
Brandon, great to have you on. Thanks for the time. You worked really hard this offseason. Now you get to see all of the talent that you've got in camp. Is this cool for you to walk around and be like, damn, we got some talent here?
Yeah, it's been great. I think the best part so far, I got to find wood somewhere. It's been an uneventful spring training, but getting to see the guys go out, play, prepare for, our couple games in Tokyo. But, just as important, watching them kind of get into the clubhouse, learn each other, become a unit and start to mesh as soon as possible has been really cool. And, a big part of the process of when we're acquiring these guys is how well are they going to fit into the clubhouse. And it's been a seamless transition so far.
I walked in there today and I was starstruck. I mean, Glasnow, Snell, Sasaki, Yamamoto. We're not even talking about some of the young guys you have. Kirsch was in there. And then you get to the position players, Freddie, Mookie, Shohei. It's literally, I'm like, man, I want to play for the Dodgers. I told Alanna, I'm like, I think I could catch a game or two. I'd catch the heck out of some bullpens. I want a ring. It's got to be the best feeling as a GM to know that people want to come play for your organization, right? To me, that's the biggest thing is it's Alanna says it all the time. It's a destination. Well, LA now is a destination place that guys want to go to try to win a ring and play with the best of the best.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the goal of ours for, the leading up to these past few years, but it's been, something we've been striving for a while. And obviously that comes with the coaching staff and the players that we've had building a culture, Dave driving that train, and then an incredible amount of support from ownership. So none of those things can happen without our owners, really putting winning at the forefront of everything we do.
I know it's a full group effort when you go after guys like Roki, when you court a guy like Shohei. What's your role in it? Because certain guys have to step up and click the button for the PowerPoint. Other guys have to refresh the croissants at the table. Like, what is your role in it? And have you guys gotten better at that role the more you meet with every one of these superstars?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is so many people are involved in these recruiting processes and trying to figure out where you can add value, if there's a nugget that makes sense for you to drop based on personal experience or relationships that you had. So, as you're going through this, you certainly learn and get better, or that's the goal at least. And making sure that as you're figuring out what we want to hit on, what we want to make important, everybody kind of has their opportunity to touch on certain aspects of the organization and what resources we offer and, the experience that they would have. So it's kind of learning as you go, but understanding and rehearsing on the front end of who's going to take what when it comes to trying to relay everything that we can about the organization.
Brandon, when you talk about the Dodgers, you always talk about culture. And I remember having many conversations with Andrew Friedman, Dave Roberts, Stan Kasten about the culture and the character type of guy that you want to bring in. And to AJ's point, when you walk in and you're starstruck, and he's a big leaguer, World Series champion, and he's walking and he's like, oh my gosh, look at who's around in this clubhouse. Are there challenges with managing superstar personalities? You talk to Tony La Russa, you talk to Bruce Bochy, and sometimes managing superstars is harder than managing, the also ran guys. What challenges come with that?
Yeah, I think obviously there's guys that have been incredibly successful in their careers, many of them on Hall of Fame tracks. The number one goal that when people step in here is to win a World Series. And guys have shown it time and time again, of Mookie going to short last year when we needed it. Freddie in the postseason being like, hey, I'm not as good as I can be. You should play somebody else versus left. Like those types of things, are what makes this group so special. And Dave does an amazing job of being able to handle the different personalities and communicating with them on a daily basis, which is really important because as you go through a season, players are making assumptions or, I'm not really sure about this. The lack of clarity can cause issues. I think, as a staff and Dave and coaches in the front office are making sure we're staying ahead of any of that. But the biggest thing is, like we talked about, the guys that are coming in, we know they want to win. when that is your goal and you are trying to win as many championships as possible, everything else kind of falls into place because everybody's pulling for that ultimate thing.
I have to ask this because I saw Shohei in there, and I know he's coming back from rehab. I want to know, how is this going to play out? Because he can't go on a rehab assignment.
Yeah.
It's like you can say, hey, Shohei, we need you to go to Double-A. We need you to go to Rancho Cucamonga and throw 4 innings today and then be back in DH in the big league game. Right. So how's that going to work as a pitcher rehab? Because you're either going to have someone piggyback him, but how do you build a guy up that can't go on rehab?
Yeah, we've talked about it a lot, and obviously it's unique. He's one of one at this point. As he's getting in and making sure he's building a good foundation and, because we obviously can't lose one of the best hitters in the game, we'll set something up where we can consistently get work in it, call it once a week and whatever day we decide that is. And then in early work, try to work through some type of like live BP scenario. And that's not an ideal situation.
Do you fly minor leaguers in? Because you don't want him facing your big league guys because something, God forbid, something happened,
it's
right?
It's certainly on the table, and we've done that in the past for guys, whether our hitters need work, they haven't seen a lefty for a while, we'll get somebody in and try to get creative with that to make sure everybody's getting what they need. So I think that'll be a little bit of a like, hey, let's see how this goes. What do you need? And then, as he's ramping up and building up volume from a live EP standpoint, one of the major benefits is like if he comes back and throws 2 innings, like that's okay. We don't have to make a roster move to do that. It is only additive at that point, which is obviously incredibly helpful. So we'll when we get to that point, as we're approaching it, we'll map it out and figure out, because we may be on the road, which could complicate things, but making sure we have some type of consistent work. And then when we hit a threshold of volume, okay, is he ready to plug into a game? What does that look like? It's just easier than if you had to say, hey, now we're plugging this starter back into the rotation. We have to make a counter move. We don't have to do that. So it's only additive, which is incredibly valuable.
I mean, we could have a 10-hour show on Shohei. There's never a lack of Shohei content, but I want to look at the clubhouse when I was downstairs, Brandon, and you see, obviously, Roki Sasaki and Yoshinobu Yamamoto right next to Shohei, who has 2 lockers, by the way, obviously, as does Mookie Betts, as they should. But what do you think those 2 guys, Yama in his second year with Shohei, and then Roki Sasaki, can learn, and not only from their countrymen, but just obviously how to pitch at this level in the United States? Because you likely have Yama go in game 1, probably Sasaki go in game 2 in Tokyo. What have you noticed in the terms of the development of those 2 guys?
Watching Yama, obviously from last year to this year, just the confidence and the just more of like, hey, this is a normal day. He kind of came into his own. He pitched great for us and then really showed well in the playoffs. But you could see when he came into CBR this year for spring training, he was like, okay, this is normal. I don't have all of these new scenarios coming up, plus trying to figure out how to navigate a major league season. So his level of confidence is incredibly high right now. He's looked so good in bullpens and games. His stuff, the execution is what really separates Yamamoto from a lot of guys have great stuff, but his execution is as good as I've ever seen. So he's, coming into his own and understanding how to navigate the big leagues. And then Roki has come in and been incredibly open and worked with our group and, some different delivery drills and things that work in the weight room for prep work to make sure we're patterning movements that he wants down the mound beforehand. So he's been great. He's dove right in with our group. And, the first outing was obviously incredibly impressive, and we're looking forward to him continuing to grow. I think what's so impressive about him is, as good as he's been, there's like so much room up to even get better, which is kind of scary.
By the way, Yamamoto's smaller than I thought he was, and Roki's bigger than I thought he was when I saw him.
Yep.
But I have to ask, is it breaking news, Alanna, that Roki's throwing game 2 in Tokyo? Because you said it, and you didn't deny it, Brandon.
I mean, it's not official.
I mean, Kyle Teal's not going to be there, so maybe he could pitch.
We're setting things up, right? As we sit here right now, I mean, Yama's throwing today, and Roki's supposed to throw tomorrow, and then you guys go to Tokyo. So it kind of lines up well. Okay.
Oh, I thought we were going to have breaking. We can think how many Japanese people you would excite if you said he's throwing game 2.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Okay. He's out of the bubble of the lab, like pitching-wise. He threw great against the Reds the other day. How good can he be?
Yeah, I mean, I think the stuff, the velocity, the splitter, I feel bad for catchers. Like, I don't know how you would catch it. It does something different every time. it's one of the, it's as unique of a pitch as I've ever seen. So as he's layering that foundational piece, those two pitches are obviously incredibly impressive. And then as he continues to refine the breaking ball, I think you're looking at one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Are you guys feel pressure to start Yamamoto and Roki in Japan? Because most teams would say, okay, we're going to start our 1 and 2 first 2 games of the season. And not saying you have to say they're your 1 and 2, but just do you feel like there's a pressure? So, okay, we're going over to Japan. We got to start them. Because if that's the case, you would think, okay, your 1 and 2 are going to, like the Cubs 1 and 2 will probably start their first 2 opening day games stateside.
Yeah, I think the benefit of our rotation is that we have so many talented guys. It's tough to distinguish 1 through 5 or 6 or 7, however you want to do it. So,
or 8 or 9 or 10 or 11.
So I think a lot of it is like, hey, what makes sense for the Dodgers? What makes sense in the grand scheme of things for, baseball and how it all works? And, this is, if it continues to play out and things go that way, like we're in a good spot where those guys could throw those games. And I think it's something cool for the game of baseball, and also like for us as an organization, we feel really good about being able to do that as well.
Let's expand on that a little bit, though, because you have such quality, talented arms, and we're talking about, though, making sure everybody gets their innings, right, and building guys up to where they need to be. And obviously, injuries are a part of the game, but how do you look at it big picture-wise to make sure that it makes sense with the talent that you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a constant balance. And having done this last year, having gone to South Korea, we have a better understanding of how to navigate the exhibition games, those 2 games, and how we come out of it on the backside. Our schedule when we get back home is helpful, where we go 3 day off, 3 day off. So it allows us to kind of reset and make sure guys are continuing to build up to where we need it to be. So much of this is making sure that guys are in a position for success, short-term, long-term, in that with a unique buildup of spring training, that our starters are still going to get to that pitch threshold to be able to take down real innings come a domestic opening day.
You guys come back here, or you go to LA?
Back to LA. We have the Freeway Series. It's 2 real games and then back to.
I know, that's so weird. It's so weird to me. I want to know about your career path, because you were a middle reliever.
Middle relievers need love too.
No, they do.
AJ.
But now Breslow, right, was a middle reliever. He's now the GM of the Red Sox. You're here, GM of the Dodgers. What is that path like? Because you just don't see, you've seen position players do it. You've seen some pitchers do it, but it's usually the position players that can work their way up. So how did you, as a middle reliever, get to be in charge of
the best team in the world?
That's what I was the team that everybody wants to be a part of and everyone wants to see. I mean, you mentioned Korea last year, Japan this year. You guys might be, who knows where you guys might be next year.
I was really fortunate as a player to be exposed to so much of what the Rays did, and always very curious about, the analytical side of things, and then being a middle reliever and being like painfully average, like going up and down a bunch, being option, like understanding roster construction just from like how it affects me personally. So I was always curious about those things. So once, I was done playing, started to reach out and obviously touch base with Andrew, and then started on the player development side on the pitching front here. And then the following year became farm director, so got exposure to everything. I think that job prepares you incredibly well for anything that's to come. And just kind of dove in and tried to be, learn as much as I possibly could on a daily basis. And like, fortunate enough for me, there's a lot of great people in this organization to soak up information. And I've been very fortunate on the way to continue to help out the organization any way I can.
You were the pitching performance coordinator. That sounds like a super crazy awesome name. How close are we? Because we looked at the Dodgers as like the most innovative, the most ability to spend money in certain areas. How close are we to being able to start to curtail some of these pitching injuries? Because you want the most out of your pitchers. Yeah. And I heard somebody from the Dodgers told me that you guys are starting to put more into that. Obviously, we've been doing it for a while, but how close are we? Or does it not really matter? We're just going to get 10 starters and here we go.
No, it always matters. I mean, we've spent a lot of time, and this is not like we just started thinking about it. We've put things in place along the past few years that we felt like were helpful to mitigating injuries. And as things have played out, we haven't done a great job of that. It's hard to decipher exactly why that is. But so this offseason, kind of re-examining what we were doing, what we were solving for, and trying to rethink how to prepare our younger guys for when they get to the big leagues. And, we've had multiple group meetings, gotten a lot of input from a lot of different people. So this is, we've implemented a few things in the minor leagues this year that we hope will start to help that. And then as those things play out, continue those conversations and look to improve upon that again throughout the season, come the off season, and making sure that we're not happy, even if this helps with injuries, continue to make sure that we're doing everything we can, because performance is great. Health is obviously paramount. And you want those two to merge. So we'll continue to learn. We're far from perfect on it. And the industry is obviously not great with it either. So, it's something we'll keep striving for and look to get better, each and every year.
The Dodgers obviously have a quality front office that you're a part of, but you have a pretty successful and special guy in the dugout and in the clubhouse with Dave Roberts. He's done everything that this club has asked him to do. He wears a lot of different hats. It's not just the game plan of the day. It's everything off the field as well. Sure. What do we need to do to get Dave this extension before we get on that plane and get to Tokyo?
Yeah. Write him a check. You better get out that check. You better call the Guggenheimers and get them to give you some checks.
Back up that Briggs truck.
Yeah, obviously Dave's been great for us, and we work so closely together, and the impact that he has on and off the field is immense. So yeah, we feel really good about the place that we're in, and hopefully, when we have something to,
if you get a lifetime Kershaw deal, lifetime deal,
when we have something to announce, hopefully here in the next couple of days.
I mean,
you got about 36 hours till you leave.
We're around, so if you want to do it with us, remember I was here for 7 years. I mean, okay, all right.
We got nothing but time now.
Okay, all right, just checking. So as Kratz knows, and we kind of have a running joke whenever we have GMs on, they all have the quarter zip on. So he lived up to the hype today with the quarter zip. Yeah, I mean, Neander, though, I said had a hoodie on. Dana Brown was like slacked up, nice like Peter Millar golf shirt, like loafers. But every other GM, quarter zip. It's standard GM wear.
Yeah, it's very easy. Get it done.
When you walk in, does the equipment guy have just a different quarter zip?
He's
like, here.
There's a whole
closet
in the office.
I love it.
Well, you said it was because you didn't like your outfit, so you just put a quarter zip on if you don't like what you're wearing.
If you have like a 45 grade outfit, you throw the quarter zip on, and it helps it
out. Who critiques your outfit, though?
Myself.
Oh, okay. So you have like a full mirror in your office, and you're like,
no.
I don't know about today. Okay. Yeah, I was like, I don't know about today, so I'm going to throw the quarter. I thought it would say World Series champion on it.
No, it's on the back. You just can't see it.
It says two-time World Series champ.
It's inside the sleeve. Brandon, appreciate the time. Thank you. Appreciate it.
By the way, 1 for 1 off them. We checked the stats, Kratz. 1 for 1 off them.
It's not surprising.
Yeah. Sorry about it.
Sorry about it.
Do me a split.
Thanks, Brandon. Safe travels out to Japan.
Appreciate it.
FT fam, be right back with much more from Dodgers camp.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
FT fam, that was awesome. And while we have a moment, shout out to Hungry Root, part of today's sponsorship for FT. The code is FOUL when you go to hungryroot.com/foul, and you get a big boy offer, which I'll tell you about in just a moment. But what happens when you get your Hungry Root for the week, Kratz? Whether it's snacks you're looking for, right, because you're getting your personal grocery shopping, or you eventually can't even get to Hungry Root to put in your preferences. They're like, it's all good. We know what you want. We got you.
They learn. I'm not saying Hungry Root's got the AI tool going, but they learn. They learn what you like. They learn what you snack on. Maybe you're just a big-time snacker. You're going to be getting a bunch of snacks in the mail, but they're going to also be like, hey, why don't you try this out? And be like, I kind of like it. So if you keep adding stuff that they know is in your parameters that you don't even know you set up, that's huge.
Yeah, I've discovered a lot of new snacks. I actually had one right before the show. This is a little PB&J thing that I can actually have with all of the weird food allergies that I currently possess. Turkey jerky, the whole deal. So is another snack that I ate earlier today. So anyway, you also can make meals, instant meals, meal kits, the whole deal. It's all part of Hungry Roots. So you're going to love it. Take advantage of the exclusive FT offer for a limited time, 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life at hungryroot.com/FT, code FT. That's hungryroot.com/FT, code FT to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life, hungryroot.com/FT, code FT. All right, here we go. Let's talk about some actually pretty devastating news potentially for the runner-up last year. The New York Yankees just keep taking hits left and right. And by the way, yeah, we got an extended crew today here. So it's Kratz and me from Parts Unknown. It's Alanna and AJ from Dodgers camp. We're jealous, but let's do this. Kratz, you lead off while AJ gets settled there. Gerrit Cole might be done for the season. You're good. You're good. Tommy John surgery is what Jim Bowden reported on. That was the first wreck. It sounds like he's getting a second opinion, but it does not sound good. And everyone's been worried about his elbow since last spring training.
I read the Will Carroll put out a little article talking about what he originally went down. And we're looking at Jim Bowden's tweet here. According to the source, Gerrit Cole has been recommended to have Tommy John surgery, but they will now wait for a second opinion to confirm the diagnosis. Last year, when he went down in spring training, it was a nerve issue, and it sounded like it was very similar, but this time the initial first opinion came back and said now there's some type of damage to the UCL. We don't know what that is. When you're recommended Tommy John surgery, it is the last thing that you want to hear if you're a Yankees fan, if you're a player. But last year I think he went to Neil Eltrage, and that's who I think he's going to again. But we don't know. I mean, obviously speculation is just that, speculation, but this would be devastating for a Yankees team, any team that loses their ace.
This is bad. This is bad. You never want to hear that. We've had this conversation here. The only guy I've ever heard that has been recommended, TJ, is Tanaka, and he didn't do it. And he pitched for years after that. Almost every guy, even then when they try to rehab, and for me, looking at it from the outside, again, I don't know anything. I'm not a doctor, but just get it done.
Yeah.
Because it's going to – what are you going to waste 3 months, and then you lose more time on the back end?
More of a season, yeah. But this is even further than that. If you look at the fact, guys, that Luis Gil's already out, and then you lose Gerrit Cole potentially for the season, then maybe next, part of the next season as well, depending upon when he decides to do the Tommy John surgery. We were talking about this earlier, joking that the Dodgers have, 10 aces on their starting rotation, and you look at the Yankees and they just don't have that same type of depth. I mean, this is bigger than just losing Gerrit Cole.
Yes. Well, Fried, thank God they have Fried, Rodon, and they kept some guy named Stroman.
Now, how big is that
remember when he said I wasn't a reliever and everyone was up in arms? Guess what? You're a starter, Marcus, and they're going to be counting on you a lot. So be ready. The question is where, obviously Fried, Rodon, Schmidt, Stroman. If Gil's out for a while, then what?
I don't know.
Is there a trade? Is there a cease? They call the Dodgers up and say, hey, we'll take your ninth starter.
Well, that's the thing.
Hey, Brandon, this is Brian Cashman. We want your ninth starter for prospects? I don't know.
But if you're the Dodgers, who do you let go?
That's my question. The ninth starter? I mean, how much can you get for Bobby Miller?
Ooh, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just throwing a name out there, right?
Yeah, you're right. They just don't have the depth.
Agreed. This is bad. This is bad if you're a Yankee fan. This is bad. This is the thing we talked about.
Yeah. Quick clarification. Tanaka was recommended rest and rehab, not TJ. And he had the partially torn UCL. So just to clarify. So nobody
usually when you hear partially torn UCL, it almost always leads to Tommy John eventually, right? I mean, I play with guys that were like, oh, you have a partially torn UCL, rest and rehab. They rest and rehab. They come out in one start, 2 innings in, they're like, ow. And then they cut. And this is 2 months down the road, right? So they eventually have it. Tanaka's the only one that I can think of off the top of my head that had that and then didn't go on to have the surgery.
So then what are we doing here, Kratz? Because like they mentioned, Heel's going to miss about half the year. Clark Schmidt had a very similar injury last year. They already said 3 months plus. So we're missing him for half the year. Let's assume that Cole is done for the year as well, right? And now you shift everyone up. Fried and Rodon at the top, Clark Schmidt, Marcus Stroman, and Will Warren, hopefully for them, and not a ton of depth after that. Are they picking up the phone and calling AJ Preller about Dylan Cease? Are they calling Kyle Gibson's agent? What are you doing? They also they have insurance on Gerrit Cole's deal too, so they're going to get some money back. It sounds like they do have insurance, so don't worry. Hal Steinbrenner, who's really, really looking around for his wallet these days, worried that the Dodgers are so much richer than him, might get some money back. It's okay.
Okay, well that's good. I'm glad we set that record straight. The guy that they might need to look to right now, because like you said, you can't just go and steal the Dodgers' 9th starter. You can't just all of a sudden quickly make a deal for Dylan Cease. And is Will Warren ready? We watched it this weekend. The guy who made the start for the Yankees against the Cardinals. Is this Cookie's chance? Is Carlos Carrasco going to get an opportunity to eat some innings? You know, do they have to try to figure out how to build him up and hope, you know, last year they can make adjustments on last year? That's why you bring veterans into spring training. You just hope you didn't need them. They hope they got to the end of spring training and didn't need Marcus Stroman. Like, that would have been a great problem to have. And now he might be their number 2, number 3 starter.
But how did the Yankees get into this position, you guys? I mean, you look at the fact that they obviously have money. I know Hal Steinbrenner doesn't want to spend like his dad did, but you're the New York Yankees. You're in the World Series last year. You're runner-up in the World Series. You obviously have money. You're not anticipating, perhaps maybe you were, that Gerrit Cole was going to miss the year with TJ, but thank goodness you signed Max Fried, because where would this team have been without Luis Heel, probably Gerrit Cole, and if Max Fried wasn't in the rotation from the Atlanta Braves? I mean, you have to go out and get somebody. Maybe 2 guys.
Do they have the prospect capital to do that, though? Will they give up Spencer Jones to go get a big name guy? Would Cashman do that?
Do you want to win now? I mean,
they're in win now mode, aren't they?
This isn't like a team that wants to rebuild. You want to win now, so you have to go out and get a guy.
Yeah, I agree.
And think about your prospects later.
What about Fetty? What about Fetty from St. Louis? He's an innings eater. He throws strikes. He takes the ball every 5th day. Do you go Nolan Arenado and get Fetty, and that you might have to eat some money, but you don't have to give up as much capital and prospects? I don't know. Just throwing a random trade out there for you guys.
What about our Pinstripe Territory host, Derek Lewandowski, said Jordan Montgomery return?
Yeah.
I don't know if Monty necessarily wants to go back. Kratz, you know him pretty well, but you might not have a choice.
I mean, look, if he's available, obviously it's a good opportunity, but I don't know. He won't have a choice because it's a trade. But kind of what Alanna said, like, you guys are in Disney World right now. Like, teams don't get that many starting pitchers. The Yankees felt like they were good. To me, 6 solid dudes. I mean, you're talking about Cy Young candidates to Rookie of the Year winner last year of your 6 guys, and now you get there and you're like, ooh, we have only 4 starters.
50%.
Well, not down 50. They're down to 4 guys. Louis Heel and Cole
out. Cole, and then but
they got Fried. That's why they got Fried, because of this problem. That's why they went out and got Fried. Now, if you're talking about what ifs, had they signed Soto, they probably wouldn't have gotten Fried. So this is maybe a benefit of not signing Soto. You bolstered your depth, which every team needs.
They bolstered their depth, though, on the position player side, obviously getting Bellinger and Goldie, and I guess Devin Williams, too.
Devin Williams is going to help,
the bullpen. But they need pitching. And I'm just surprised that it got to this point where you're the New York. You can't go into a season thinking, all right, we're healthy with 5 guys. Somebody's going to drop.
They also traded Nestor for Devin Williams, so that was a starter.
Well, Nestor
that they
traded
lost.
himself by throwing that cookie to Freeman.
Nestor said they were the better team, though. Just don't forget that.
They weren't.
That was the front office's fault for putting him in that situation. If we're going to go that deep into this, they should have put in our boy Tim Hill instead. That was a huge mistake on their end. Exactly. But anyway, they are by far the most injury hit team so far. There's even some smaller ones we haven't had a ton of time to get to. Tyler Matzik sounds like he's hurt. Scott Efros, guys that they expected to be big parts of the bullpen who still might be, but they're hurt at least to start. Real quick here, just because we won't have time later. We know Giancarlo Stanton. I mean, he still could miss the entire right? He's messed up. He keeps getting PRP injections for his tennis elbow. The one thing, just for the player perspective here real quick, AJ, have you heard of this? Stanton basically said that he was using a different bat, and that's why he had the double tennis elbow last season. He said bat adjustments, and that's why he's not sure when he's going to be able to play again.
As someone that used their same bat the whole career, I never had that problem. I never heard of this problem. I switched my bat for about a month. I went to Paul Konerko's fat handle bat. And my bat, I used a real skinny handle, so it would break when I got jammed. Paul Konerko's didn't break, and he always had thumb problems. So my thumb started hurting, and I went back to my old bat. It went away. So I told Paul, I'm like, maybe it's your bat. He was too stubborn. Instead, he wanted to get a shot all the time in his thumb. But
by the way, this is the same guy, AJ. When we walked into the clubhouse today, we were talking to Max Muncy, you guys, and AJ was like, I've never had back problems. I've never had knee problems. He's the outlier. Nothing ever hurts with AJ Pierzynski. Do you think Giancarlo Stanton ends his career on the IL?
God, I mean, it sucks. This sucks. I don't know. Gosh, I hope he comes back, but oh man, this hurts their lineup. Obviously Cole going out.
Soto's gone too.
But Soto gone, no Stanton. I mean, we talked about this when we were in Yankees camp. Who the heck hits behind Judge? If I'm on the other team, I'm like, oh, Judge is up, and I mean, Austin Wells, cool, but Bellinger, cool. I'll take my chances 100 out of 100 times against those guys.
Completely agree. I don't know why guys were throwing to Judge last year. Nothing against Austin Wells. He had a hot month and a half at the end of the season that really propelled him and the team through the finish. But to me, tennis, I've never heard of it. I've never even heard anybody say bat adjustments. Like, did he go to a longer bat? Was it a heavier bat? Was it a different knob? I'm like AJ. In 2005, I switched to the I-13 and never switched back. Now, I'm not saying I was a good hitter. I'm just saying I never liked any other bats. So I'm not sure why he switched bats and how that could hurt your elbows. I don't know. I think it's his huge biceps that hurt his elbows. You look at that guy and you're like, there's no way he can get hurt unless there's kryptonite somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he looks like a cyborg, but he was insanely good for them in the playoffs last year. So they need him. Yeah, more this year in the regular season than they did last year. All right, we have many more injuries to hit, so we'll do that when we swing back on FT. BetMGM Futures time. The National League winner will be the Dodgers at plus 145 have an insane edge right now, Kratz. So much so that is it really worth throwing down Bills when you're only getting odds at this level? Or do you look below? Atlanta plus 500, Mets plus 650, Phillies plus 650. And next on the board after that is San Diego at plus 1200. Where is value?
I mean, that value is right in that National League East. The plus 145 for the Dodgers. I don't know. To me, I'd even look, if you're telling me it's plus 145 for the Dodgers, I might see if I can, get some type of insurance. 29 other teams win it other than the Dodgers. It's not going to be that much. It's not going to be that much lower. So to me, I really like that. I really like it coming out of the National League East. It's so hard. I know that the Astros have done it recently. It's so hard to get back to the World Series, let alone win it. It's a little easier to win the National League, but to me, the National League is going to be way, way tougher. The winner of the National League wins the World Series. I think that's where we're looking at, unless somebody emerges from the American League that can dominate some lineup. Because look at those top 4 teams. Those lineups, they are built to bang. So you need to be able to pitch. To me, if you want to get an outlier number outside of that plus 650 from the Phillies or Mets, I'd love to see what the Diamondbacks are, because you're going to get a larger number because they have the Padres on there before the Diamondbacks. And I really like what the Diamondbacks could do coming into this year.
I wholeheartedly agree. Diamondbacks are definitely a play, and you know that they're four figures there, right? We're showing you the top names on the board. So they're at least plus 1,200, if not even steeper than that. And I see what you're saying. Do you keep in mind that you think the NL is better? And do you think that baseball is crazy and the Dodgers could get upset, and you pick, say, the 5 other best contenders in the NL and put them at World Series winning odds and just throw down, a little bit on each of them?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to get really
100%.
serious value on the rest of them because the Dodgers are tilting everything so much. Bonus code FOUL, FOUL, first bet offer. You know what it is. If you're not a BetMGM account holder, then now's the time. Up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. And if you do win your first bet, then awesome. You nailed it. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Be right back with Injuries Suck. Injuries suck. I mean, we got pretty lucky for the first couple weeks, and then all of a sudden got destroyed with injuries in the last few days. So let's start with the catchers. Francisco Alvarez goes down. AJ, it's the hamate bone that he fractured in his left hand. He's out 6 to 8 weeks. He's going to get the surgery done. I think he actually got it done already today, or it's happening today. Luis Torrens was the pick to click from Pete Alonso. But how do you think this affects the Mets and their pitching staff and their hopes of winning the division?
Did you see their record last year when Alvarez played? It was crazy good. It was way, way better when he played. Listen, I've had this surgery. I have one scar. When Alana was saying I have one scar, it's right here. I had my hamate taken out. Where's my? I don't know.
You don't need your hamate?
No, you don't. Hi,
it's like an appendix. You don't
it's just like a little Z. It looks like the Harry Potter scar. But I had it out in 1999. I did off a position player. It sucks. And luckily, it was at the end of the year. It cost me a September call-up. But I remember David Ortiz had this in Minnesota. He broke his, and he came back like 2 or 3 weeks later, and he was never the same. It hurt him for the rest of the year. So, Francisco, take your time on this. It's a weird little thing. It's just like this tiny little hook that holds the tendons. You don't need it. But when you break, I remember my hand was stuck like this. I couldn't move these 2 fingers. And it was in a AAA game. And I had to have the umpire throw the ball back to the pitcher because it was the 9th inning and we were winning like 20-2. And so I had to hand the ball to the umpire to throw back to the pitcher the last inning.
Let me ask you this though, Kratz, because you look at it and AJ's saying, hey, let's take your time. But can the Mets afford for Alvarez to take their time?
That's a good question. Can they afford it? Yes. Speaking from a backup catcher's standpoint, Luis Torrens doesn't need to go out there and hit 304, 305 like he did last year. He needs to go and be the presence behind the dish. And I'll kind of hit on that while I'm also talking about Alvarez. Everybody thinks, well, the inning doesn't, or the play doesn't start until the pitcher throws the ball. Reality is everybody's looking at that catcher. Everybody's looking who's behind the dish. And whatever his energy is, whatever the way he moves around is, that's how the team really goes. They either do it in spite of him or they follow him. And this is not to blow AJ up, but AJ, that energy behind the dish, the team felt that. They went on to win a World Series. Teams that have somebody who's lackluster and just doesn't really care back there don't make runs in the playoff. So Alvarez is a huge loss back there. No matter what people say, he hit in the playoffs, who cares? What he did, that energy that he brings, we saw it last year in spring training when he came on our show. It's just a different kind of swag, a different kind of alpha male in the clubhouse that when he's in the lineup, when he's behind the dish, everybody goes. Everybody's energized. And that's what they need from Torrens. So how he does that, I have no idea. But if Pete Alonso is already talking about you and you're the backup catcher, I think they have a suitable backup there who can step in for probably 2 to 3 weeks of the season.
By the way, you know how Alvarez is a stud? He has a tattoo, I think, of a scorpion on his neck. And remember what Adam Wainwright said about Yachty? You don't mess with guys with tattoos on their neck.
Yachty is the last person in the world I'd want to see like in an alley.
See?
Like,
but
he's terrifying.
Alvarez also, Yachty had like the musical notes, and now Alvarez, I think he has a scorpion. And Waino said it, you don't mess with guys with tattoos on their neck, especially catchers.
And you better take your time with him because you need the bat to come along too. He was bad in the playoffs for the most part, and you need that bat, right? It's tough for any team to get their catcher up to speed for October to be able to hit. We've seen catchers really struggle. So take your damn time, Mets, even if you finish as a wild card. Next up, a team that keeps finishing just short because their ownership doesn't give a crap. George Kirby is hurt, shut down with a shoulder issue. GM Justin Hollander talked about it. Here he is.
All right. First injury update, unfortunately, of camp. George Kirby has not been feeling great after his outings. In the outing, he is throwing the ball well, same velocity as you would expect. He just hasn't felt like he's bouncing back great. We did an MRI. MRI looks great. No structural concerns whatsoever, and I will repeat that, 0 structural concerns. There is some inflammation in there that we need to get out. So much to George's chagrin, we're going to take the ball out of his hands. George wants to keep going, and he's going to lose this argument. We need the inflammation out. So we will shut George down and work on getting the inflammation out. This is more like a week-to-week thing than a day-to-day thing. We just want to make sure we're doing the right thing. Wow. Sorry. We want to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the big picture of the whole season as opposed to worrying about opening day. George will likely start the season on the IL just with not having pitched a full buildup of spring. We don't think this is anything long-term concerning whatsoever. Again, no concerns with a structural issue. We just want to make sure we're doing the right thing. So we will reassess a week from now and see how the inflammation looks and see how he's feeling, and we'll go from there.
If you're listening later on, he said, wow, because the lights went off for a second, probably because their owner forgot to pay the bill on purpose and then quickly figured it out. Since their biggest move in the offseason was Donovan Solano, and they just assume, AJ, that their perfect set of 5 in their rotation is just going to be healthy every single year and get them close enough to 54%. So how much does this hurt when it's a dude that not only is one of the best starters in baseball, but also goes deep into games and helps the bullpen out?
I agree. This is a big one. As much as we talk about Cole being a big one, this is a big one for the Mariners. And my question is I don't know who that was. Who was that? Was that the trainer giving the update?
No, it was the GM.
No,
The
that's
GM?
Justin Hollander. He's the GM. He's the minion for Dipoto.
Or Dipoto, sorry.
Yeah.
My question is if there's no structural damage, then why is he not?
Sore?
Why is he sore? I don't understand. I know there's inflammation in there, but shoulders, you never want to hear shoulders. Shoulders are bad. I mean, when guys have shoulder surgery or shoulder problems, it takes a long time. Elbows are elbows, but shoulders are a different thing. You don't want to see this in a guy like George Kirby. We want him back because I want to see him pitch. I love watching him pitch. And if you're a Mariners fan, you need him back because these 5 guys pitched almost every start last year for you. You need those 5 guys to be incredible again if you have a shot in that division.
But if you have a shot in the division, because they did not get anybody to bolster their offense, you have to rely. And if anybody puts the Mariners 5, probably is the best rotation in baseball. But if one
over
of those
the Dodgers?
Yeah. I mean, maybe not. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe with stuff.
Over the Dodgers?
Maybe with stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe with stuff. But you figure if you
Yamamoto, Sasaki, Tyler Glasnow, Blake Snow.
Tyler Glasnow has I love the good injury problems. Yamamoto second year. We don't know what
I'm just saying stuff-wise.
going to do.
I'm saying stuff-wise.
Listen. Okay, let's say in the American League. Best
okay,
rotation
there you
in
go.
the American
There you
League.
go.
All right, you're the one that's always calling me a homer. I'm trying not to be. But my point is, you can't imagine that you're going to go through an entire season with all 5 of your guys healthy. Now George Kirby goes down with inflammation, but he's sore. Who knows if it's going to? I mean, Hollander did say there's no structural damage, but if you're going to win in the AL West, you're going to have to pitch because they don't have the offense. If anything else happens to one of their starters, they're going to be at the bottom of the division, except for maybe the Athletics.
A's are going to be good this year.
You think?
A's are my sneaky pick to be pretty good this year. Just saying, they're my sneaky pick.
Alana's a Rockies fan. She's not a Dodgers fan. She's a huge Colorado Rockies fan.
Her blue pants say something different. Trust me.
Okay.
And the hug she received when she walked in here today, it was like I walked in. It was like I walked in with magic.
A big deal.
It was like I walked in with Magic Johnson today. I walked in with her. I waited to go in the clubhouse with her, and when we walked in, the look on these players' face, and forget the players, the clubhouse guys, the media guys. I mean, everybody that saw her was like, "Oh my gosh, biggest hug." Meanwhile, to me, they're like,
"Not true. That's not true."
Wait till you go to Salt River. Wait till you go to Salt River. It's gonna be
tomorrow.
It's gonna be unbelievable out there. Unbelievable. But here's my issue. If he has no structural damage and he has soreness in there, one of the things that and maybe some pitchers can tell me I'm wrong on this one, but when your shoulder hurts, your command goes. This is a dude that has walked like 22, 23, and 19 guys in full seasons the last 3 years. Like, he is a guy that has incredible command. I'd hate to see him come back and say, well, there's nothing structural. I got to pitch through it. And then his command starts to go because he's still a relatively young pitcher, and you don't want him to rush back, but they need him to rush back. So I guess it's good they didn't trade Luis Castillo too.
That's right. So their rotation right now is Logan Gilbert, stud. Luis Castillo, solid, although not a 1 anymore. Bryce Miller, very good. Brian Wu, super, super stud, but also very injury prone. Emerson Hancock has not been good for them. Yeah, of course, with Wu, but also
super limited.
You're saying injury-wise, he's been...
Yes, innings-wise, they've been very, very careful with him.
Yes, he's been given kid gloves for now. Emerson Hancock, who's had 15 starts the last 2 years, 4.71 ERA. He hasn't worked out really. And that's in Seattle's ballpark. So factoring in, obviously, how that's the pitcher's ballpark, the best pitcher's ballpark in baseball. This team could be in some trouble. They literally, AJ, are going to have to score some more runs to get by here if Kirby's missing for a good chunk of time. And that's assuming that everybody else is intact. I looked after Hancock. There's really not major league ready starters at all. They are not deep in terms of starters. They are really thin with their farm system. They have a ton of great position players that are still a year or two away. So I feel like the timing's getting weird for this team. They just had these guys for their prime for 2 years. They maybe have them for another year or two. And then obviously some of them are going to leave because they're going to get more money elsewhere. Then their position players are going to come through. So they're not timing their winning window out by, of course, not going after it hitting wise.
But you're also assuming that the position players are going to either play over their skis or all have better numbers than they did last year. I mean, they didn't add anybody to that lineup to lengthen it at all. So you're, again, going to rely heavily on your starting rotation, who, as you mentioned earlier, Scott, Kirby was the only one that really went deep into the ball game to kind of save the bullpen. So, I mean.
Justin Turner said it. He played there. What else? Justin Turner, he doesn't say things that he doesn't mean. He doesn't. No. But Justin Turner said it. What did he say? They didn't do anything, and I don't know why. And he even said, if I'm the only one they brought back, guess what? They messed up the offseason. Listen, if you would have had to trade Luis Castillo to get a bat or a bats with an S to help your team
with the
and
other
save
four
money,
in your start,
you would have thought that. Yeah. But they didn't do that either, and now we'll see. But you made fun of the A's. The A's are my sleeper pick. I'm telling you. You made fun of the A's.
I know, my bad.
I'm telling you right now.
Sacramento
I think they're going to be. I think they're going to be better than you think.
I hope so. The players themselves, and Kratz deserve that.
Agreed.
The fans deserve that.
Except for if they get to the playoffs, they got to come play here at Camelback Ranch. I don't know where they're going to play.
Every team in that division, besides probably the Mariners for sure, and maybe the Astros, were better. Are going to be better. The Angels are not great, but they should be better than last year. They actually did things this offseason. Even if they're not good, they're going to be better. A's should be better. Rangers should be better. Astros certainly aren't going to be bad. And then you've got the Mariners who did nothing and now are down a number one starter already to start the year. So
I mean, at least the A's spent some money, which is different than they've done in the past.
Mm-hmm. True. And they signed some dudes to extensions, which was awesome.
Yeah.
They're spending other people's money. They're spending other people's money because they have to.
But at least they're spending it. Well, there's another team that needs to, and they ain't spending it. Yeah, there's a team in Miami that has supposed to too, and they're not spending anything. So
all of Florida.
Orlando. Anyway, we'll be right back, FT fam. We'll go. What's going on in Florida right now? Potential ownership change soon. All right, one more injury that we didn't have time for, but we'll do it right now for the YouTube fam. Grayson Rodriguez, elbow discomfort, shut down for 7 to 10 days. his last start, he was in like the 90 range, exited a couple batters later when he, was chucking a pitch or two that I think that were 89 miles an hour. And they're like, all right, get him out of there. So they'll see what happens. Of course, he had some issues last year that ended his season earlier than he wanted it to be. And one of their big reliever signings, Andrew Kittredge, in the offseason had knee surgery. This one didn't get a lot of coverage, but they were expecting him to be a big part of the bullpen. 1 year, $10 million, and he's going to miss months of time. So the Orioles take a hit to a bullpen that should be pretty good, but just lost some depth. And then their rotation is thin. We've talked about this. The one sign of hope for O's fans, Kratz, is Ken and Patrick Mooney came out with a report last night that the Orioles are still looking into some other pitching options, while the Mariners are not. The Yankees, at least at the time, are not. But they said that the Orioles are dancing around to see what that looks like. Is it a top-end guy? Is it a filler like bringing back a Kyle Gibson? It sounds like they're going to need something.
Now they definitely need something, just for the fact that you need those innings. You can't replace Grayson Rodriguez. You can't. He's on here all the time. How he talks, the energy that he brings to that team. So if they need to try to replace him, you can't just be like, oh, okay, well, we'll just go get Dylan Cease. Like, that is a also, not a because of. Like, to me, if you're going to make that big splash, clearly that you can make it in spring training. AJ Preller is not afraid to trade guys during spring training and make these moves late. But they need the innings. So right now, you need to find innings, whether it's a Lance Lynn. Kyle Gibson had so much success. So many guys on the pitching staff and the position players raved about him when he was over there. You have to find those innings. And when Grayson comes back, it's okay to have Grayson, an innings eater, and a Dylan Cease, and another guy. It's okay to have that because this is where we're at in spring training right now.
Mm-hmm. Do you think they'll be okay if they get an innings eater and not a top end guy? Okay. Part of that actually factors the Yankees into the equation now. Yankees aren't going to be as good as we thought they were at least a month ago. Are they going to be good? Yes. Are they going to be this 105 win powerhouse? Probably not. And the division's pretty balanced out. So the injuries themselves around them right now are helping the Orioles too.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. Hey, we've got Juan Soto quotes. He's been speaking, doing a little podcasting, and he addressed the rumors about the Yankees security guard that was giving his team the Heisman last year. He said, quote, "It's not true that I had problems with a Yankees security guard. It's not true that I asked for a luxury suite. And it's not true that the Yankees reached a point in the offer where the difference with respect to the Mets offer was $40 million. Let's show the other one too, and then we can comment on it. He talked about the Nationals offer from several years ago. He said, I got 3 offers. First, an offer similar to Acuna's deal, and that was 8 years, $100 million, I think, plus options that he's on right now. Then another offer similar to Tatis, who's in the 300-something range. Then came the $440 million offer. If they had signed Trey Turner, Anthony Rendon, and Bryce Harper, I would have accepted an offer even lower than $440 million. Kratz, you first here. Thoughts on both of these?
I want to hit on this tweet first, talking about the Nationals. To me, this shows he wants to win. Does he want the money? Absolutely. Absolutely. But he said he would have accepted that had the future looked bright, had the future had superstars like him. You can't tell a superstar, look at what we have in the minor leagues. Superstars don't care about prospects. He's going to be there for 15 years. There's going to be like 3 rounds of prospects that are coming through. Had you signed those guys back, you would have still had Juan Soto. Whoa, what a team that would have been had you just signed 2 of those 3 guys back. And you know which one I'm pretty sure you didn't want to sign back.
I'm not signing Harper back. If they signed Harper, they couldn't afford Soto. If they signed Turner and Harper, they definitely, and yeah, he says it would have taken less than $440. Then why didn't he take the Acuna deal? Because then maybe they could have afforded him, but
No,
he didn't.
But that's the thing. That's the thing I got out of that. What Kratz said about he wants to win, I agree with you. Surround me with some winnable players. Surround me with a good team. I believe that. But the other
Then
thing
why didn't he go back to the Yankees?
Because the other thing I got out of I don't think he liked playing with the Yankees.
Okay, there you have it.
The other thing I got out of that is Acuna was way, way, way underpaid.
He still is way underpaid. Him, all those guys they signed. You can throw Riley in there. You can throw Matt Olson in there. All those guys are very underpaid.
I do like that they lock up their core for a long time, but holy moly, he's underpaid.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just think that for me, I think Soto. It's easy to say this after you sign for $765 million. It's easy to say, oh, I would have taken less. I would have done this. I would have done that. And it's also easy for me to say, oh, well, this wasn't why I left the Yankees. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. Whatever. But these are all things that everyone said happened. It wasn't just like some random reporter saying, oh, well, he wanted a suite, and the Yankees say, we don't do that, and this and that. So, yeah, listen, Juan, you got all the money. You went to the place you wanted to go. What did Aaron Judge say? Seemed like he wanted to be with the Mets. Well, there he is now. He's got his years. He's got his money. Go win.
So has the tide turned then? Is now the Mets more of a destination than is Queens more of a destination?
Well, LA was busy, so they couldn't sign him.
We have a good right fielder, Teoscar.
I know.
Hernandez.
He's awesome. I love that guy.
But, I mean, is the Mets more desirable now? Scott, your squad. Is the Mets more desirable than being a Yankee?
I don't know about them being a Yankee. I wouldn't go that far. I think it's fit by fit, though. I mean, Kratz, there is a huge difference between the way the Yankees conduct themselves and the Mets conduct themselves. And I think they're just two completely different flavors right now, as you like to bring up. Mets had all kinds of fun and skits, and that did keep them loose. And they spoke about how they loved that. I actually put that as a comp to what the Rays do. And sometimes you have to tiptoe the line there, right? Because the Rays kind of let them do their own thing, be themselves. And then it did sound like, obviously, when times don't go as well, they want to tighten things up this year. You don't have that with the Yankees. You're not going to have a post-game concert.
Then why let Jose Iglesias go? Why let Jose Iglesias go when he doesn't, if you like the loosey-goosey and those types of things, and he doesn't cost you that much? That
wasn't about the personality, at least from what I heard from the inside. They're like, we have a logjam right now of players that we need to eventually get on the field. Brett Beatty, Ronnie Mauricio, etc. And they're like, those guys don't cost anything. We have to give them a chance or we're wasting them away. They feel like some of those guys are big league players now. Now, I can make the case that they didn't need to sign Nick Madrigal. Moot point now anyway, because he's hurt probably down for the entire year. But they've got the guys they need. It looks like Beatty's crushing it in spring anyway. They don't even have a spot for him. He's going to be a utility guy. So I just think it was a roster move more than anything. I mean, we talked about it. Alanna, for me, it wasn't just that the Padres scooped him up on a minor league deal. I'm like, where the hell is the rest of the league on this guy? Sure thing glove, clutch as can be, had a great year last year. But Kratz, anyway, difference between the two clubhouses in your mind?
I mean, talking to some of the Mets guys when we were down there last week, I think they were kind of over the gimmick stuff. What they're not over is just being who they are, giving themselves the opportunity to accept in a superstar, not just, okay, well, now we have to go into the next superstar. And I think there's a different vibe in both those clubhouses, but I think it's more from an outsider's viewpoint. Because the Yankees clubhouse being in there, I know it is a lot of fun. From the outside, it looks prim and proper and all, everything in a line. The Mets clubhouse is just more of what I saw as most clubhouses. It just came to light. It was just shown through. The New York, I think the Yankees do a good job of sheltering those things that the games and the gimmicks and everything that everybody plays in the clubhouse. If they have something, they keep it to themselves. The Mets just let it out there. So I don't think there's that much of a difference in the clubhouses. But obviously, besides the half a day I was there and last week in spring training, that's the extent of being in the Mets clubhouse for me.
And Scott Boras, by the way, hasn't said anything officially, but I'm sure he'd be like, no 440. We almost doubled that. Okay, Juan, I would have stopped you. He did.
Scott's a Red Sox fan. Scott's a Red Sox fan anyway, so it doesn't matter. He's a Red Sox
fan. His hat.
He wore a Red Sox hat at the press conference.
True.
He's a Red Sox.
That's
so he's like,
maybe he talked him out of the Yankees then. He's like, yeah, don't sign
Homer.
with the Yankees. Let's leave him
That's
alone
right, exactly.
right now.
He's like Alanna with the Dodgers. Nobody signed with the Rockies. Everyone go to LA.
And the Rockies.
That's
And
how
the
they're not even
Rockies.
on the same playing field. Like they're not even.
Big Rockies. Well, they are on the same playing field. When they play each other, they're on the same, literally on the same playing field, Alana. Homer.
The organizations
Rockies.
are not the same. They're just not.
Rockies, Homer. Rockies, Homer. Okay.
FT fam,
You
be
and
right
Bloomberg.
back. We're going to get to AJ's home state and the chaos ensuing with the Rays.
Sorry, I had to cough really bad. Like,
All right, we're back. And I do want to bring in Alanna for this one if we can. Michael Grove with season-ending surgery, right labrum repair. Sounds like it's been a problem, obviously, since last year. The offseason didn't work. I mean, Alanna, not a lot of people know about him yet nationally. Obviously, I'm sure the Dodgers are going to be okay without him. But how's this loss for them? Just takes an arm, obviously, off the roster for the year. But is this a big deal loss, or it's like, okay, he wasn't going to be a big factor for this team?
No, I think, first of all, I feel bad for the player. I mean, this is a guy that did have opportunities to pitch for the Dodgers last year because, as we know, they were decimated by injury and they were using every single arm that they could possibly get. I think, obviously, the depth going into the season this year, Scotty, is a lot better for the Dodgers, not only from the starting staff, but just all the way up and down the roster. This is the best I've felt about a Dodgers bullpen in a really long time. We were in the clubhouse this morning. We saw Michael Grove in that sling, and AJ was pointing out he still has like the writing on his arm as far as the surgery is concerned. But you look at the Dodgers bullpen, guys, and I know we're talking about Michael Grove, but you look at the Dodgers bullpen and you see the lockers when we were in there today. And it was like, Kirby Yates, Tanner Scott, Michael Kopech, all these different guys. And you're like, this is a pretty freaking good bullpen. But as far as Michael Grove is concerned, yeah, I mean, this is a guy that I think, had the potential of pitching some big innings for the Dodgers. Do they need him as much this year as they did last year? No. But I mean, this is a team that, really utilizes their guys in the best way possible to kind of finagle the non-traditional way of pitching now. And it sucks for him. He's done for the year. But as far as the big picture is concerned, let's just say that the Dodgers can survive this a lot more than I think the Yankees can survive missing a Gerrit Cole, obviously, and a Luis Hill.
Yeah, the Dodgers prepared themselves for losses like this. All right, FT fam, we're coming right back in a minute to go over MLB potentially side door forcing Stu Sternberg to sell the Rays. Ooh, juicy.
Sure.
In the weeds we go. Evan Drellick with this story last night titled MLB Commissioner Several Owners Pressuring Stu Sternberg to Sell the Rays as Buyers Eye the Team. Buyers that were mentioned include the DeBartolo family. They're from Tampa. They own the 49ers. Tampa Bay businessman Dan Doyle Jr., who was apparently part of a previous process to try and buy the team in 2023. Meanwhile, Stu Sternberg is looking for minority investors, probably trying to get some cash flow going so he can pay for his part of the new ballpark project. They got $60 million this past season, or around that number, in revenue sharing money. So sounds like we're probably going to have to cut this short since we have a guest ready to go. And I do want to spend some time on this one, Kratz. So this is a big deal for many different reasons. And I want to cover all of the layers of it, including the fact that they're going after the Rays, right? MLB and other owners. Meanwhile, the A's had an issue that was looming for just as long of a period of time, but they're good. They're able to take over a city, take away an expansion city that could have been, and instead becomes a relocation city. So that's just one of the 20 layers here. I think we'll probably just bring on Evan Phillips pretty soon to talk about this. So I don't want to dive too deep into this story because we need Mr. Florida for this. AJ Pierzynski, obviously, right?
There's a lot of pieces to it. Hopefully this resolution, because it's been happening for years, hopefully it gets sped up.
Yeah, we'll get back to it, okay? We get interrupted because we want to talk to our friend Evan Phillips right now, Dr. Super Reliever joining us. Evan, great to have you, man. How you doing? How's camp? And are you ready for the big trip?
I am great. Unfortunately, I'm not quite ready to make the big trip. I'm going to be staying back here, continuing to build up, throwing some games, and then I'll meet the team at some point early this season.
Okay, so you'll rehab back at home.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, Scotty. Dave had said that holding you back. The good thing is, though, Evan, you said that you feel healthy. You're just not built up yet. So
right.
Mentally, how much more of a positive is that? Knowing the body's good, you're just not where you need to be yet as far as innings and the arm strength.
Yeah, that's a huge positive. Every obstacle that I've had to face so far has gone really well. So just continuing to chip away. Building up into live EPs and then facing some other hitters and getting into minor league games here in Arizona. Getting down to whatever rehab outing I'll have to go to at some point. And like I said, hopefully meeting the team real soon.
What was it? Shoulder?
Yeah, it was a subscap strain, muscle strain in the back of the shoulder.
I didn't think pitchers had muscles, though.
Yeah, I know.
I thought they just had ligaments and tendons.
Right? It's kind of a really weird, acute injury, somewhat of a freak thing that usually if that thing goes, the whole shoulder goes. So I'm fortunate in that case that didn't happen. I just needed a little bit of rest. Thankfully, going into the offseason, had plenty of time to let it, relax and got an injection to kind of encourage some recovery. And then, I think right around January 1st, I was ready to start throwing.
I was talking about this earlier, Evan, and again, thanks for taking the time. It's always good to have you guys on the show. I was looking at the murderer's row, if you will, of the bullpen that you're a part of, and it's insane. Not only what you guys had last year, obviously, in the bullpen dogs, but the additions that came over. We were all hoping for Tanner Scott. No, by the way, Kirby Yates is in there too. When you look at that row and you're just talking to your teammates, this is the best. And I am a homer. I get it. He's established it. Whatever. This is the best I've felt about the Dodgers bullpen in a really long time.
Yeah, I think we're all really excited. And what I like most about our group down there is that it's very, very selfless. Each guy's down there just committed to getting outs. I think they've shown that across the track record of their career. Some guys have had a beaten path to get to this point. I'm certainly happy to have my buddy Tanner Scott back in the bullpen with me, and it's going to look a lot different this time around. Last time we were teammates. We were kind of fending for ourselves in Baltimore, trying to just stick in the big leagues, but. To be teammates at this kind of level, competing for championships again, it's going to be a lot of fun.
He looks mean. Tell us about him. That beard, it's so
he looks nice.
So dark.
He looks like a nice fellow.
No. It's just like he looks intense. Tell us more about him.
You could say intense, but once you get to know him, he's a big teddy bear. He's a good dad, good husband. It's been great to get to know his family and kind of have our kids. We'll grow up together now too.
What was it like for you? And I know this. You missed the World Series last year.
Yeah.
What was your emotions like? Because obviously you won, you still get a ring.
Yeah.
But not to be on the field and watch what Blake did. Obviously coming in, closing, and then Walker came in for the whole thing. What was it like though? Because you're like, gosh, those are my guys out there.
I'm getting chills thinking about it because it was probably the hardest 10 days
Oh.
I've experienced in pro ball. October 22nd, Game 6 against the Mets. Feel the pop in my shoulder. Knew it wasn't good. Next day, didn't recover too well. Tried to throw the next day. Couldn't produce any power. I knew I wouldn't be able to pitch anytime soon, but thankfully we had those 5 days off in between. So go get the MRI. It says what it says, but our plan was to, try to chip away at getting ready.
So you thought you might still be able to?
Well, the reason I wasn't was more of a roster legality issue. And so our plan was for me to try. I was going to, be available for the World Series, and if it didn't work, it didn't work, and we would have shut it down then. But because of the roster issue, if I were to have not been able to pitch, there was a chance it couldn't replace me.
Okay.
And playing the World Series, a man down in the bullpen we wouldn't have been able to win. I think we proved that in our Game 5 win. We needed every bit of our bullpen plus Walker Buehler to win. But watching those games, I certainly felt every time a certain spot of the order, a certain inning came up, it's like, man, that's my spot.
That hurts my heart for you, man. You don't get those opportunities often.
I'm watching my guys do it. And I'm so confident in them, but man, I was on eggshells after every pitch. It was very hard.
Did you feel like you helped them though? I mean, obviously you played all the way up until that point, but you, like the legality of it, you would have pushed, just the mindset of a baseball player, you would have pushed to be ready and you wouldn't have lied. But the fact that it's like, okay, I'm not going to push it because we could be down a man in the bullpen. Don't you feel like a shred of like, you know what? I was there because we were able to have one extra guy?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it for me was I knew I was a big part of getting him there. So looking back, I was able to, remind myself that I'm a big reason why we're in this spot, and to have that available guy in the pen. Because honestly, I didn't think I was going to be able to go. Like, we were doing all the rehab, we were crushing it. I couldn't throw. So it was, could I have gone out there and tossed one in at 70 and seen what happened?
Yeah.
Sure, but
it's a liability at that point.
I'd probably be in a sling at this point.
Yeah.
So, it was a really hard decision to make when it comes to that side of things, but I knew I was a big part in getting us there, and just watching our guys, dominate out of the pen for the whole playoffs. Really, it was just a really awesome run for us.
This is the time of year where we start hearing guys like, oh, he came into camp and this was ailing him. And you look at the date when you had surgery. January 1st, you said you had surgery?
No, I had no surgery. I was able to avoid surgery because the muscle was just able to heal on its own. No ligament damage, no capsule damage. Very fortunate in that case.
Did you know that was going to be the outcome of it when they said after October 22nd, I think you said, you felt the pop?
Right.
Was that like a tense time? Because we talk about all offseason. Why didn't this guy get this wrist thing taken care of in October? Why didn't he get it taken care of in November? Did you worry about that? Like come January 1st when you got cleared? Did you worry that, if I may need surgery at some point?
Not so much. We did do a follow-up MRI in December, kind of just to see how things were progressing on their own. And I think, mostly my injury was when I came out of the MRI tube and they told me my diagnosis, I was surprised because it didn't feel like it was going to be severe. But then the timeline that was attached to it, the World Series was going to be difficult to get into, but we tried. We did cortisone to try to just get it to settle down as fast as possible. A bunch of shoulder rehab to try to just protect it, and ultimately it just needed time. It was a full muscle tear, so I basically had no way to accelerate my arm or decelerate as well. Giving it that time that it needed. We had that follow-up MRI in December, and that showed that it was healing, but not quite ready. So that's ultimately why we waited all the way until January, just to double, triple check, make sure this thing has had plenty of time to heal. And here we are, early March, mid-March now, and feeling fully healthy. Just dropped my device.
No, you don't need to hear them.
You're fine.
We're good. Sorry.
Just keep talking.
No, you're fine.
So, but I'm feeling healthy, and I think it's the results of being patient, with my rehab.
How much of it is a mental game, Evan? Just trying to make sure that you don't feel, kind of getting over that hump, knowing that, okay, I don't want this to happen again, but knowing that you feel good and can really navigate through things and execute the way that you want to be effective.
Yeah, I think those mental hurdles for me were, while I was trying to be available for the World Series, because, I wasn't on the roster to start, but that didn't stop my rehab. Ultimately, we had a conversation the day of Game 5 to just shut things down because it wasn't getting any better. Those mental hurdles were, where I was worried that if I push it too hard, am I going to just make this thing worse? And towing that line was really difficult. But I think, personally, I felt like in early December, I was itching to get ready to go. Like AJ knows, like when spring training is around the corner, you want to be on time. And I've had, plenty of guilty feelings here in camp about me not being able to be ready.
Yeah, because in your mind, in the offseason, you're like, all right, it's December 12th. It's time to pick up a baseball or whatever it is.
I had that same exact conversation with my agent, with the Dodgers, and we all got together and agreed to, get the second MRI. Let's check on things, see how they're looking. And when things were progressing but not quite there, we all kind of came to a mutual agreement to, okay, we'll keep things on hold for now, make sure we're not jeopardizing the whole season. And if we need to miss, a couple weeks, a month, whatever it's going to take, we decided that would be okay.
Yeah.
I have to ask you, you're talking about not being on time. I'm about to pull up your guys' roster here.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's insanity for me. But
he was starstruck when he walked
seriously,
in
I shook Shohei's
today.
hand today and Roki, so don't touch my right hand,
That's
okay?
right, that's right.
But I'm just looking at your pitching staff. But forget the starters. But then you look at your bullpen, right? Trinan, Scott, Vesia, Dustin May, whatever he does.
Yep.
You, when you come back healthy.
Yates is down there.
Kopech.
Yep.
What roles do you guys have? Are you going to pitch in like the third inning?
Hey, that's
Banda. I forgot about Brewster when he comes back, right?
I'm telling you, that's where our bullpen doesn't have egos. Like, we know the World
Who's the
Series.
closer?
I don't think we have one.
Really? So Blake's not like, I would need to close, guy.
No,
That's a 2-year deal.
No, I think the Dodgers win championships. Like that's the mindset when we come into camp and when we take the field. Like, sometimes the outs in the 6th are going to be bigger than the outs in the 9th because when you have our lineup, they're going to add 4 in the 8th, and then there's no closer to have, right?
Yeah.
So I think that mindset has kind of just gravitated into the pen where we take the ego out of the equation. It's going to shake out certain ways here and there, but with our depth, right, and like the guys that are going to step up while I'm out, while guys are trying to return and get healthy for us, there's just going to be so much opportunity for guys. But ultimately, if it comes down to
they're just hold situations. They're not save situations anymore because your offense is so damn good that you don't need to come in and close.
Yeah,
just hold them.
It's just a stat in our eyes, I guess.
What about that mentality though? Because when I know that you're obviously friends, very close to Tanner Scott, but you were on some Orioles teams that weren't that great, and you guys weren't that great at the time as you're trying to kind of come up and find your way. What a difference in terms of where you kind of started your career and where you're at now. What have you noticed as kind of the growth and development of not only yourself, but just the difference in organizations and the way that this club goes about its business?
I think for me, when I first got to the Dodgers, that the winning mentality, just the idea of you're coming to the clubhouse with the expectation to win, I had to find a way to contribute.
Mm-hmm.
I was like bottom of the totem pole at that point. I was pitching mop-up innings, up 10, down 10, just eating up outs for guys. And I had to make that matter.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of mentality really helped me chip away at the different kind of leverage roles I've taken with the Dodgers. Making those outs, making all of my outs matter has really taught me that, for on a winning team, every single out does matter just as equally as any other out.
No doubt.
You were the first guy, and I have to ask this, that I remember hearing, I don't know, you talked about or someone talked about on TV, making the X's, right? Like most people don't understand what it's like, but you were trying to throw the sinker going in, the slider cutter, but you were also doing it at like 100 miles an hour. What's changed in baseball? Like those guys used to be like 88 poo sinker, 82 poo slider, and they were trying to keep the ball down. Now you guys are running it 99 to 100, 90, 91 slider cutter.
Yep.
What's changed? And
it's been crazy to watch, hasn't it? I think even just the past 5-10 years, Blake Trinan talks about it all the time. 95 used to be gas.
Oh yeah.
Now if you don't throw 95, you're barely hanging around in the league.
Yeah.
Performance has just become the priority, I think, for a lot of pitchers. You've seen guys go into off seasons, they're going to drive line, they're going to tread, they're trying to get the most out of themselves. And unfortunately, I think that's probably where these injuries spikes have come from too, along with maybe pitch clock, just the way the pace of the game, the intensity of the game has risen. But the talent is through the roof right now. Watching some of, and not just our pitchers, but pitchers around the league, the talent is insane right now.
Evan Phillips, we appreciate you. Best of luck. I'm happy that you're healthy. I know you'd love to be, potentially pitching in Tokyo, but you got a lot of big innings upcoming this season. We appreciate it.
That's right.
Good
hey,
luck.
the way he talks, by the way, after having Brandon Gomes on here, he might be the next
GM.
The next reliever GM.
We got to get him a quarter zip.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, that's the thing. If I start wearing quarter zips, I'm heading that direction. So I'll avoid those.
That's the thing. All right, Evan Phillips, of course, part of those bullpen dogs for the Dodgers. We'll be right back.
Thanks, sir.
All right, here we are. We should have Freddie Freeman joining us next. If you have questions for him, let us know. FT fam, a lot happening. We're a big boy show today. It's like Super Bowl status with 4 of us on the show. So Kratz and me can take over here for a couple minutes. So I'll get to a couple things. Number one, the Tigers made a little signing that's more for next year, but we like to document anything of note. Jose Urquidy signs a contract, gets $1 million this year. He can make a lot more next year, especially if he contributes starts. He's coming back from was it Tommy John or elbow surgery? There it is, all the details. Tommy John. It was June 5th for Urquidy, who was a nice part of the Astros rotation for several years. And Cody Stavenhagen, Tiger Territory host, said club option for next year also contains performance bonuses on top of the $4 million if they do decide to have him for the 2026 run. He gets $150,000 each for 4 and 7 games started, $300K when he hits 10 starts, then another 300 for 13, 16, 19, then 500K if he gets to 22 starts, 25 starts, and 28 starts. Nice. Kratz. I mean, it's probably the only time we're going to talk about it, but good idea. I mean, he's been a solid pitcher. He could come back and be a mid-rotation or back of rotation starter, depending on what that rotation looks like.
A completely incentive-laden pitcher for 2 years from now that you're paying $1 million to rehab, that has a career under 4 ERA, has pitched in some huge games in the playoffs. I think the Tigers just keep making these little ads. Obviously, the chance of him helping this year are remote, maybe like September type of thing. But you sit there and you go, the Tigers are just slowly moving in this direction. I don't feel like the Tigers were doing this before. Some success last year makes them think, okay, they get a little taste. They want more, and they want to continue to have more because they have a young core that, if they're successful, will be there for a little while.
That's right. And that includes Jackson Jobe, who, by the way, had the quote of the weekend, talking about how he's not going to just dance around anymore with his stuff. He said, quote, "I'm done with trying to do a dot a gnat's ass. Just here's my stuff. If you hit it good, odds are probably not." Baller quote.
I mean, the thing is, at such a young age, he was able to do that. You think about young pitchers, Andrew Painter over at the Phillies, two guys that have elite arms that can throw strikes and know where it's going. Now he's got that little FU mentality. Aish.
All right, let's hit the weeds here. The Rays are owned by Stu Sternberg for many years. They are battling with the St. Pete city officials right now to figure out their stadium situation. It was delayed. They want St. Pete to take on more of the money. St. Pete's like, do you even have the money, Stu? And now this story comes out last night from Evan Drellick in The Athletic, AJ, that MLB and other owners are going to kind of try and push him out. You can't officially do that. It sounds like they're going to have a nice heavyweight fight against him. But what do you take of all this? They can threaten revenue sharing money eventually. The Rays apparently get about $60 million a year, and they've got that March 31st deadline, the Rays do, to have the money that they need to contribute to this new ballpark. $1.3 billion. Price is rising because it's been delayed. And the Rays have to come up with a lot of cash that I don't know if they necessarily have. So what's the deal here?
That's a great question. It's going to be interesting to see. I've never heard of the owners forcing anyone to sell. And it's like, oh, wait, this is big news. Now there's a bunch of groups lining up, I guess, to try to buy this team. I know, in Orlando, we've kind of talked about this, but there's some people in Orlando that like to get it. Now you're hearing about people in Tampa that would like to get it. The main question for me is, will they be able to get a stadium in Tampa? Because Sternberg's not going to go quietly. He's going to want to fight this. He's not just going to sell. Now, if someone gets to a price, Alanna, that's outrageous, I don't know.
I'm always wondering when ownership groups or teams say we don't have the money to do this. You do have the money. Maybe you don't want to buy an entire stadium, but you got to continue to put a winning.
Hey, $750 million or whatever he has to come up with is a real.
It's expensive. I understand that, but you're also making a boatload of cash too.
Hey, listen, we say all the time the owners aren't poor on here.
No,
but they cry poor, but they're not poor. So I think I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens on March 31st, because the things that can happen is they can not have the money, and then the St. Pete thing goes away, or they can put an extension on and then give a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day extension. Sternberg has to try to raise the money. I don't know. Listen, I'm not in this, but I've talked to a bunch of people about this. Does he have the money? Nobody's really sure that he has the money.
The best thing that could happen to the Rays is to build a stadium the size of Steinbrenner Field and put a roof on it, because they don't sell out their stadium.
Well, you got to have 30,000 people though.
They don't fill it out.
They wouldn't. They would if they moved east, Tampa, Orlando-ish area. There's just you can draw from. I don't know how many times you've been to St. Pete. Probably never, because Dodgers don't go there very often.
I have been to St. Pete
but
many
it's
times.
Not easy to get to,
and
it's just not fun to go to.
Well, they have some decent restaurants.
They need to have but they used to have nothing. They need to have so on sunny days they can play outside, and then they can close it.
How is this going to work, by the way? Tampa playing at Steinbrenner Field, and the middle of July. Here
Hold up.
comes
I want to get this quote
Freeman.
in there too.
Freddie can't walk slower.
So
he can't walk any
president,
slower if he tried.
Exactly. Matt Silverman's the team president of the Rays, and he said, quote, "It's not a question of whether we have the funds. We do. The question is whether it's a good use of those funds to commit us and MLB to this ballpark for the next 30 years. You guys made the deal. They also made the deal. And if they're going to act like, oh, I don't know if this is the right thing, well, then why are you doing another deal in St. Pete when everyone else thinks that you should be in Tampa, or obviously like AJ and even me, maybe try out a different spot like Orlando. Tampa will definitely do better. There is a stigma about crossing over the causeway. So
I'm not even listening to you, Scott. I got Freddie complaining in my ear that he has to come on. Because I literally saw him like a child, and I was like, you have no excuse. So
10 years ago, you guys played together?
10 years ago.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a team that actually went after him. That's what we're talking about right now. You guys, we'll step aside, though. We'll do a break. Kratz and I will cover this for the rest of the break while Freddie gets ready.
Your team that tried to sign you?
All right, got 2 more minutes of Kratz, then he's got to bounce, and we'll bring in Freddie from Camelback. Okay, thoughts, Kratz, on why the Rays are being attacked so much when the A's were allowed to just dance around for a couple decades and then eventually move to another city? They don't want them to relocate, okay? Because that takes leverage away from a city that right now they need, right? They need at least a couple cities involved in each bid, the east portion of the country bid, the west portion of the country bid, to make sure that they get the $2-point-something billion when expansion teams pop up. But technically, they cannot force the Rays owner to sell, and he's going to be tough here. He bought the team for $200 million in 2004. Forbes values the team at $1.25 billion. That doesn't mean he has to sell them just because they're going to go after him. But revenue sharing is a big deal, and if they do eventually strip $60 million a year from the Rays, it is going to certainly put them in a tough spot.
Good for the owners for doing this. Good for the owners standing up to not necessarily like, okay, we're pushing them out, but you have to set limits. You have to set limits because they saw what kind of happened with Oakland. Like, hey, it's time. Like, you have the opportunity to get this stadium thing finished, or we're going to move on. To me, I'm always the one that wants to know what it's like to be in on those meetings. I want to know if they're like, yeah, you really got to move on. And then John Fisher's in the background. He's like, yeah, tell him, guys. Like, tell him what he needs to hear. And it's like, John, zip it. We like you. Like, don't speak up here.
Yeah. They do need to figure this out because, Manfred, before he retires, wants to have the expansion plan in place. And we did think that St. Pete and the Rays had a deal. And part of the fight here is that the hurricane caused delays to the process, which then causes delays to the construction. And the Rays want St. Pete to pay at least a portion of the delays. And St. Pete's like, we are not budging after this. We've seen standoffs for 20 years with 2 teams, so they will stand off. But I don't think St. Pete's given in on this one. I think they have very much held their ground and said, we already did a deal. This is what we commit. The rest is on you. So we're going to learn a lot in the next few weeks about this. But anyway, Kratz, good show.
And they up their amount too. They've gone through different politicians, and St. Pete upped their amount.
That's right. Kratz, we'll see you tomorrow.
Absolutely.
All right, Freddie Freeman is back with Alanna and AJ in 5 seconds.
All right, guys, welcome back. Frederick Freeman is joining. and honestly, it was because AJ wore him down to the point where he had no excuse but to come up here. These two were teammates 10 years ago. Now, Freddie, obviously, MVP, first baseman for the club. This is an exciting camp. AJ was starstruck when he walked into your clubhouse today. There's some star power in there, but there's something about this club, Freddie, and you can speak to it obviously more than I, that you really believe in one another. Yeah. And it's a good group of 26 guys that has one goal in mind.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, it starts with, you got Kershaw in the clubhouse every day, and kind of the environment that we create is being able to welcome new faces in, because we've had a lot of new faces, a lot of turnover the last few years. When we lost JT and Cody, so many familiar places, you try and create the environment as fast as you can that makes it a successful and easy environment to come into. And I think we've done a good job of that. We care about each other. If we don't get the job done, we just keep rooting for the next guy. It's always the next man up in mentality, and we've created a really good thing around here.
Yeah.
By the way, no offense to you and Mookie. I got a hug from you and Mookie, but I got to shake Shohei and Roki's hand. So, like, you guys are kind of
old news. It's okay. We've played together.
I know. Mookie and I was on the field when Mookie made his debut.
Oh,
we were teammates back when he first came up. He was the second baseman.
And that was when you were at
2014.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so old now. I'm proud of him though. I mean, I listen.
Yeah.
We've had Chipper
There's a lot
on.
to be proud of.
Yeah, and Chipper talked about Freddie, and I've talked about Freddie, and I remember, 2015 when you were just a young little punk, and me and Johnny and Frenchie and Kelly were trying to, mold you the right way after Chipper ruined you. But you turned out to be okay. So I'm just super proud. I mean, listen, as a former player and someone that obviously played with you, to see where you've come and what the star you become, and a better person than a star. I mean, it means a lot just to see little snippets of what you become. But now you're here with the Dodgers.
Yep.
And you're a superstar.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Those kind words. That's what I think when you were as players, when you finish playing, it's always that one question you always get. Oh, how was he? How was he as a teammate? And that's kind of what you hope everyone says is like, he was a good teammate, good guy, because everyone's going to remember it, not really talk about the hitting. Oh, yeah, he's a great player, but it's always about how was he? And that's where, as I've gotten older, you start to just try and affect people in different ways, and if it's on the field or in life, of how you go about your business each and every day, and you learn everything. You're learning still every day, and when you have veteran guys like I had coming up, and it just shapes you in a certain way, and you want to take little things from each player that you play with and kind of take it and put it into your own thing and try and be a good person every day.
We had a conversation earlier, Freddie, with Brandon Gomes, talking about how it is legitimately 26 unbelievable players, some massive superstars, MVPs, Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers. I really, truly believe that. But sometimes there's a lot of ego in that. And it doesn't seem like that. And again, I know I'm a homer, get over it. But, it doesn't seem like that with this group. Have you found that that's been an interesting thing to navigate in that clubhouse, just trying to, everybody living up to the potential, but also you guys were the best at every level where you played, and now you're all the best.
Yeah, and I think it's everyone knows everyone's a good baseball player in this clubhouse, so it's not like you have to carry anything. Everyone's got their little thing in the puzzle piece, and I think that's what's so good about this team is you have so many great players coming in, and that great player that comes in doesn't feel like they have to do everything on that team. And then you have a lot of older guys that have been around a long time, that's what's so good. It's great players that have been in the game a long time, that all they care about is winning. And when you care about winning, that's when you create the environment of caring about each other, because you have to, it's not just the 26 guys on this team. You're going to use the 40-man roster. There's going to be guys that we're not even talking
here yet.
about right now that are going to influence. You had Jack Flaherty come over in trades last year. There's so many guys that are going to knock down big innings pitching, take huge at-bats, and it's not just us. And that's why you have such a great organization, because they go out and create the depth that we have. And we just try and create the environment where the great players come in and don't feel like they have to carry the whole team all the time. Even though they can at any point.
You can carry a team. I've seen you do it before. I want to know this, because I played with you with the Braves. I thought you were going to be Chipper Jones and be a Brave for life. And I know you went through an emotional thing. But looking back on it, you're like, this is pretty cool. I mean, you're a California guy. I know you claim Canada, but you're a California guy, okay? You're a California guy.
Well, that's for Mama Freeman.
I know. I get it. And by the way, we talked about it. One of the coolest moments before we get into that. Your dad, your son, and you. So 3 generations of Freemans. You hit the home run, you go over. I mean, that's got to be top 2 moment in your career.
I would probably say top moment. My grandfather was also in the stand.
Oh, so there was 4 Freemans.
4 generations of Freemans for that Grand Slam, which is, when you go through what we went through of not going back to the Braves and coming back to Southern California, that was what it was. I got to play in front of my family. Whenever they choose to come and make the 45-minute drive to Dodger Stadium, they can. And you don't know why you're in Southern California or coming to the Dodgers for a reason. Then you have Max get sick, and he got to be at Chalk Hospital with the great doctors there and nurses and team there. So there's little things that when you look back, you're like, okay, this is this is why I was here. And I play the same way I did with the Braves. I try and every single night I lay my head on the pillow. Did I give everything I can to help this team win? I do the same thing every day, and to be able to play in front of my family now every day, that's pretty special right now.
When you were rounding the bases and you hit it, you hit a walk-off grand slam off a lefty too.
I know,
right? Nestor's all trying to draw him.
You sent him to Milwaukee.
Yeah, you got him traded. But
I'm not going to answer that.
But like when you're running around the bases and all those things are going through your head, was that the moment when you're like, I'm a Dodger now? And because I know how hard it was for you to, and I know that was years ago, but still, you're running around the bases and you got 60,000 Dodger fans screaming your name. You walk over, you hug your dad, you hug your grandfather, you hug your son. That had to be the moment where you're like, you know what, I am a Dodger. And then when you go in the Hall of Fame, you're going to have to make a choice. So,
oh, wow.
I think it's more of like, I've been thinking about that moment this whole offseason. When I came back from being away from the team with Max, I came back to a standing ovation. I've been getting my name chanted for all 3 years I've been with the Dodgers. It's every time I walk into that field, they have treated me like one of their own. And I've kind of looked at it now that it's almost like a thank you, because it was hard to come to the field when Max was still going through it right after the hospital. It was tough, leaving my family every single day. And then I would get to the field and they just made me feel okay and good, and that I was supposed to be at work, and I feel like I've been a Dodger for a little bit. I mean, this is my 4th season already.
That's crazy.
It feels, it's going fast. I know it's going fast.
Wow.
But I obviously now I think when people kind of think about my career, it's the walk-off grand slam now, and I'm going to be in a Dodger uniform in a lot of people's eyes. But I don't know. I'm proud of the fact of what I did with the Braves for 12 years, and now I'm trying to do the same thing here with the Dodgers and win as many championships as I can.
But you are, and Mookie said, and Shohei probably thinks it's easy. You just come to LA,
come
to the Dodgers.
It's Yoshinobu,
no problem, right? But Mookie's like, you got 9 more years of dominance, and then when Mookie's contract is up. But this is the team to do it, right? How does a World Series championship team get better?
I think what Andrew and Brandon and our ownership kind of did. You could easily go out and you could get Shohei, Yoshi, trade for Tyler Glasnow and Teoscar and do all these things and win a championship and be okay with that. And they went out and got Blake Snell. It just kept going. Michael Conforto, you get Roki, you just re-sign Blake Treinen, you get Kike back. It's a group. It's an organization that's trying to be the best at everything. And I'm just thankful to be a part of it, and that I was one of the pieces that they believed in. And that's how you do it. This game is so unpredictable. Even if we can have this team, you don't know what's going to happen this year. I'm obviously got a really good chance with the guys we have, but it's still, once you hit October, you don't know what's going to happen. So health is a huge one, but we weren't healthy last year.
None of you were.
No, none of us.
You were playing on one ankle.
Yeah, I had a lot going on, but it's you just try and do the best you can. And once the season starts, you just try and be healthy. You're going to hit speed bumps along the way. You just try and get over them and try and make it to the end and be healthy.
We had a conversation with Max Muncy earlier today, Freddie, in the clubhouse, and he was talking about how going through that parade and you guys were all on one leg and trying to get through it and grinding and
most of them were intoxicated. They don't remember that part of it. Once it was over.
No, at the towards the end of the season, during the playoffs, you guys are doing all this stuff to just try to get your body to the point where you could stand in a box and do that stuff, and then you go through the inebriated postseason run of the parade
and that's what's so rewarding,
all the things, right?
I think about it because everyone is grinding and trying to get on the field, and that's also what's so great about Doc and the manager. That's the true look of a great manager, is when your players are trying to do everything they can to get onto the field for you and the organization. And Doc's created a wonderful thing here, and we were all kind of just band-aiding ourselves together to try and get on the field, and we were able to do it. And that's what's so special when you win in those kind of scenarios, when everyone is grinding to make it through, and you have to ultimately see the reward of the grind, and you hoist that trophy up. There's nothing better.
Were you involved in the Sasaki meetings and stuff?
I was. Yeah.
Were you a big pitch man?
I was there. Yeah.
What's your pitch? I want to know what your pitch. If I was Roki, how would you pitch me to come to LA?
It was more of it was like Mookie, me, Tommy Edman, Will Smith, and Shohei were the guys that were there, and Shohei was with him the whole time. Shohei brought his dog because Roki likes dogs too. We knew what we were doing, but it was mostly we just kind of hung around in a circle, and it wasn't about hey, come to the dog. It kind of speaks for itself. It's just more of showing him how the culture is between us guys that are already on the team, and showing him that he will be comfortable if he came to us. So I think there's more of just kind of just hanging around.
And where
talking
was there?
shop.
Where'd you go?
We went to Peter Goober's house.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
we had a great time.
Oh,
I bet you did.
The fish was great.
Oh,
yeah. we had like a 12-course.
Of
It
course
was so wonderful.
Do you feel like this is a destination now, Freddie? I mean,
think
even
so.
when you signed here 4 years ago, obviously it's LA, it's the
Yeah.
Dodgers, it's historic, it's the the organization and the history. But now it seems like this is it.
It feels like it. It does, definitely. I mean, it still was kind of the destination when I came over, but then you start getting Shohei and guys like that. And then what they do to our clubhouse, it's not just on the team. It's like you're trying to create the thing. We're flying differently this year, too. So just from travel. And then
you've changed.
It's so great.
You've changed. You've changed so much. But we fly differently now.
Which is cool. And they're just pouring into the team, the organization, and other guys see it, and you hear about it. And when you become a free agent, when you work so hard to have the opportunity to choose, and then you have one of the best places of a destination wants you, it's very enticing to come. And we do the best we can to bring the great players.
I just have to know, can you beat Mookie in anything?
I don't think so.
Nothing.
No.
Okay.
We were teammates for Clayton's ping pong, and we won it together. So
we had a good partner,
and he's never had it since we beat him.
Wow, he quit.
He quit on us.
All right, before we let you go, we got to get Kershaw here.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for finally joining us.
Yeah.
I've been chasing you for 2 years
This
now,
is fun.
and you couldn't resist me once you saw me in
once
person. I got the biggest hug,
Yeah.
but most important, I'm happy that your family is doing well.
Thank you.
It means a lot to me. I've obviously known you before you had kids. Now you have children. You see Charlie running around here, Max. So I'm. That's all I care about. You're better. That's more important. So thank you for joining us.
Yep.
I love you, pal, and I want you
I'll
to keep
come
going.
back on.
Okay. Oh, everybody heard it.
Reluctantly.
Everybody
I'll
heard
go
it.
back on.
We're not that bad.
Freddie, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Best of
Thank
luck.
you,
Good
Alana.
health
Appreciate it.
all the way.
Yep.
Looking forward to running it back, please.
Yeah,
appreciate
sounds
that very
great to
much.
me. Yep,
All right,
thank
coming
you.
back with future Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer, Clayton Kershaw's next right after this.
Spring training, you can easily go through the motions sometimes and be like, let's forget about it. We'll talk about what you did yesterday. My point being, is there a guy that you're kind of taking under your wing, or two guys, or somebody, a younger guy as a leader that you're kind of like, hey, this is the Tampa Ray here way? Or is there anybody out there right now, or anybody has opened your eyes like, man, this is going to be a dude that's going to help us along the way as we go forward?
I think it's honestly just everyone as a whole. It's more just trying to introduce that Tampa Ray way to new guys that are coming in. And they're not new guys in baseball. It's Jano, it's Eloy. Talking with Kim a little bit, trying to get him adjusted to what things are like here. And then for young guys, I mean, you look at the Carson Williams kid that you heard nothing but great things about, and I'm excited to see what he can do. I love seeing what Curtis is doing this spring, really getting back to what he was known for and getting back to being comfortable, letting the bat kind of go. And I've been really impressed with what I've seen for him this spring, and I'm pretty excited to see what he can do.
Curtis is like 14 for 18 or
yeah,
something?
I think I got out 4 times last game, and that was his whole spring. So
he's on fire, by the way.
He's swinging the bat well, and I just want him to bottle that up. If he get out 4 times, he could just get out 4 times during the regular season. That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. What is the Rays way? Because I've always told the story that when you used to go to the batting cage in the Trop before they put the visitors one in, you had to walk down, and there was a big sign, "We're going to do it the Rays way." And it was kind of a Joe Madden thing. What is the Rays way? Even today on my Instagram story, I'm like, "We're here in Port Charlotte. We're doing it the Rays way." What is the Rays way?
I think it's just being a good teammate, being there, and being that next guy up mentality type of thing. I'm here. If you're my teammate, I want you to do just as good as I'm doing. There's no egos. There's no, I want to do better than you because I hope that my numbers look better than your numbers kind of thing. And, I feel like it's just kind of a league-wide thing. Like, I don't think that that's very prominent around the league, but it's just one of that, like, everybody is rooting for everybody in every situation. Like if I'm on the bench, I don't want the guy that's playing second that day to make an error or strike out or anything like that. Like if I brought him up earlier, like say Curtis is playing second that day, I hope Curtis goes 5-5 with 5 homers, because winning is a whole heck of a lot more fun than losing is.
Welcome you back live here to Camelback Ranch. Obviously, AJ Pierzynski, Alanna Rizzo here, and we follow up one future Hall of Famer with another one. Clayton Kershaw here now. Good to see you. Even better to see you back as a Dodger uniform, in a Dodger uniform. And I was thinking
he's never going to leave.
No, but
okay,
that's the thing.
He's never going to leave.
Listen, honest to goodness,
leaving.
I was thinking about this. It's synonymous, right? Clayton Kershaw, Los Angeles Dodgers. It's synonymous. There's no place I can imagine you being, and I know you want to finish your career here.
Yeah, I think when I was younger, thanks for having me, first of all. Good to see you guys. But I think, when I was younger, I didn't really put a lot of merit into it. I was just like, I love being a Dodger. It's a great place to play. But now, like, looking back, there's so many things that have to go right for you to stay in one place for a long time. And so super thankful that I get to be here again. And, I mean, you look at what we're doing, obviously, signing all these incredible players and getting to be in the playoffs every year, getting to win last year, getting to be, a small part of that. So it's just like yeah, you're right. There's really not another place I'd rather be. And it's like family now. And my kids expect it. Kids expect, hey, we're moving to LA for the summer and all that stuff. So, yeah, I can't imagine doing it another place.
You're not leaving.
Yeah.
You would never. Well, they're talking about Texas and all these. I know you're from Texas. You're an LA guy now, and you got your boy Stafford in LA. Did you talk him into staying? Because at one point they were like, "Oh, they're going to trade. Oh, then we re-signed him. So you got your boy to stay too."
He keeps getting better too. He had a great year. He had a great year. I mean, they're a couple plays away from beating the Eagles there. So. I'm happy that Matthew's back, and yeah, it's fun to have another guy to root for in LA. And I'm a Rams fan now for sure.
Remember, I met you. The first time I ever met you off the field was we were in Detroit. Oh, the Lions were playing. You were down in the tunnel, and I was there for the playoffs. And I was walking on the field, and you were like, it was like you see someone out of place, right? You're like, wait a second.
You're like, wait, this is
and then I was like, oh wait, him and Stafford. I forgot about that. So yeah, I mean it's awesome for you. But she mentioned Freddie being a Hall of Famer. You got Mookie, who's going to go in the Hall of Fame. Shohei's probably going to go in the Hall of Fame at some point. You're going to go in the Hall of Fame. What's it like looking around this room thinking, wow?
I mean, I'm just I don't know about all that, but just the guys in our clubhouse that it's just an amazing thing to see the buy-in, I think, is probably the biggest thing. I think there's a lot of superstar guys out there. And but, those three that you mentioned, Mookie, Shohei, Freddie, are very – I mean, you saw it last year, just the unselfishness, and like obviously they want to be in the Hall of Fame and they're all-stars and they want to do all that, but like it's all under the umbrella of trying to win the game that day. And so I think, from what Freddie did in the playoffs to what Shohei did with his shoulder to Mookie spending hours and hours and hours to learn how to play shortstop for our team, I think that's what's so cool to be a part of, is like all these guys are buying into something that's just bigger than themselves, which is really cool.
Kirsch, you mentioned Mookie, and this is a guy that does nothing badly. He doesn't do anything wrong. He's so gifted at so many different things, and his willingness to be coached and willingness to move positions. And I mean, he's a Gold Glove right fielder, and now he's in your infield, a huge part of that. I mean, what does that say about a guy that's a 2-time World Series champion and three-time now? That's right, because of obviously Boston first and then 2 with the Dodgers, 3 times. And he's saying, you know what, I'll move. I'll catch if you want me to.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just goes to this team. I think Mookie's bought in, and yeah, like you said, Mookie doesn't do anything bad, but that's not an easy thing to do. Like, I can't imagine trying to play shortstop in the big leagues when you haven't done it. Right. And as good as he is in right field, and when you're that good of a player, why would you change anything? But Mookie's up for the challenge, and Mookie knows that ultimately it could give us a lot more options down the road for our team. And we're able to bring a guy in like Michael Conforto, who's going to, I think, have a really big year for us. And obviously we have Teo now. So it's just like, it just really made our team what it is. And yeah, you can't say enough good things about Mookie. Honestly, Freddie, Shohei, all these guys, they're all incredible.
Best team I've ever seen assembled on paper.
No question.
I mean, by far. I told Alanna, I walked in today and it's like starstruck. Everywhere you look, you're like, hey, he's decent. He's pretty decent. One of the things that you've had some injuries. You were great forever, and then you've had some injuries. How in Major League Baseball, it's kind of become Gerrit Cole's more than likely out for the year with TJ, right? How do we stop it? Because you were a guy that took the ball every 5th day for a long time.
Yeah, there's so many factors in that, right? I think, first of all, the older guys, Gerrit's obviously, he's right in the prime of his career, the way he's throwing the baseball. So that's super disappointing, I know, for baseball, if that's true that he's out. But I think what we really have to focus on is these young guys. And I think the Dodgers are kind of at the epicenter of it. We had like 4 or 5 of our studs go down last year, and piecing it together in the playoffs. And, you can't say enough good things about who stepped up, especially in our bullpen, throwing those bullpen games to help us. But I think that's where we have to figure it out, is these 24, 25, 26-year-olds that are healthy in the minor leagues, and then they come up to the big leagues, and that's where they're getting hurt. So I know the Dodgers are on it. They're trying a lot of different things right now. They're thinking about it. There's a lot of groups, think tanks trying to figure it out. I mean, you can say, hey, we need to learn how to pitch again. We can't just throw 100 the whole time. But players know you throw hard, you're going to make a team. You might get paid, all these things. And until there's like a philosophy shift where quantity matters, like 200 innings matters, right. 30 plus starts matters again. I don't know if that's going to change unless teams change.
What about the minor leagues though?
Yeah, minor leagues,
because they throw once a week, right? So
yeah.
you came up in the minor leagues. I mean, you were there for like a day, so it wasn't like you were there for years. But you threw every 5th day, because in high school you pitch once a week.
Yeah,
and then you get college, you pitch once a week. You're the Friday guy. Then you go to the minor leagues, you pitch once a week, and then you get to the big leagues, you get to the Dodgers, and they're like, hey, we need you to start Monday, and then you got to start 4 days after that, and they've never done it in their life.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the Dodgers are going to change that a little bit. I think the guys are going to start throwing more in the minor leagues, and I think there might be something to be said. We're just throwing more, like some endurance-based throwing, not throwing.
And not 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, maybe just like building up your strength without throwing as hard as you can, and just throwing more pitches, more throws in between starts. Like, we've tried the less approach, and maybe we need to do the more approach, which it seems pretty oversimplified. And I know there's a lot more to it, but it's probably worth a shot to give it a go.
Bit of a puzzle. I wanted to ask you too about the bullpen, because you had mentioned obviously the arms down there, and it's a luxury when you have a starting staff that you guys do, but your bullpen is sick. And I looked at the lockers today and everybody there, and you're getting a lot of good guys back in Kopech and Trine, and obviously Evan Phillips is healthy, making his way back. But then you add Tanner, and then you add Kirby. I mean, is this as good of a bullpen and starting staff and position players that you've seen in your time here?
Yeah, I mean, like AJ said, on paper, it's pretty special. Yeah. Now we got to go play. Obviously, that's the biggest thing. But yeah, if you look at the back of the baseball cards of a lot of these guys, it should be pretty special, and now every year's different. Some guy that was good last year doesn't mean they're going to be good necessarily this year, but overall you got to bet on it. And like you said, the guys we brought in our bullpen, the guys we have coming back, even some of the young guys that are throwing the ball real well for us in the pen. So it's an exciting time to be a Dodger for sure. We got a lot going on. There's a lot that can happen, but I think Andrew did a great job we definitely have a surplus this year. If we didn't have it last year, we got a lot now. So
I remember when I got here over in 2014, obviously you were here, and I remember going over to Australia and those types of things, and now you're getting ready to go to Tokyo.
Yeah.
And here you are.
Are you going? You're going?
Go.
He's going.
Yeah, it's good for you.
He's going.
Go enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I mean, what would you have told your younger self? What you want these guys to appreciate, because it goes quickly.
Yeah, I think that's just it. That's one of the reasons I'm going to Japan. I'm not obviously going to be active, but taking the whole fam over there. We're trekking all 4
Wait, they didn't tell you weren't allowed to go?
But I'm sneaking over there.
I would love to have been in that meeting. Brandon Gomes like, Kirsch, I don't think you're going to be able to go to Japan with the team. I would have loved to have seen that.
The heck, I'm not.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm going to get to go, and just Australia was a really fun trip.
Yeah.
Like, I had a blast. The baseball part was a little rough, but hey, if you don't have to play baseball, you might as well go and enjoy it. And, can you imagine going to Japan with Shohei?
No.
That's
I can't imagine going to McDonald's.
And Sasaki.
And Yama, all these guys. So it's gonna be fun to be a fly on the wall.
They said 1 million people are expected when you guys land to meet your plane. 1 million people just to see you guys get off the airplane.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. So before Japan hits, it was in the next week, Doc had to get an extension. The rumor is it's done. So congratulations, you got Doc for I think 3 or 4 more years.
Yeah, that's great. He's done everything he's been asked to do, and obviously winning last year was obviously really important for all of us, and so we're happy for him. He's done a great job with this team, and obviously you have a lot of talent, and there's a lot of expectations, but it's not easy to manage all that, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into being a manager.
But you mean because everyone says like anyone could manage the Dodgers with their talent, but I say it's actually harder.
There's a lot that goes into it.
There's a lot of and egos in a good way. There's a lot of egos. Oh, Freddie, you're not going to hit second. We're going to have Shohei lead off. We're going to have Mookie hit second. I know you've hit second. there's a lot of things you have to Kirsch, you're beat up a little bit. We're going to skip you for this. It's better for the long haul, right? There's a lot of things that go into it.
There's a lot of first-class problems for sure,
No
and he does a great job of managing it all, and it's well-deserved. So if it's true, I'm happy for him.
I know one thing about you, and it's you don't reflect on anything that you've done. You tell me when you're done, maybe many years down the road that you will. Does the strikeout total matter to you when you're healthy?
You got me. You got me. All you know what? We're gonna just
pull up Baseball Reference.
No, I faced you in L.A. and you threw me all heaters, and I'm like, and I only faced. I think I had 2
those were good old days.
But so my first at bat, I was like, all right, I'm waiting for this curveball, and I got all heaters. You struck me out, and I was like. So the next at bat, you did it again. I got 0-2, and I actually hit a line drive, and the guy caught it. But I was like, I didn't get a curveball.
You were expecting
I just
that
wanted
devastating
it was you versus. I think it was you versus Chris Sale.
Okay.
And I think Adam Dunn, who for some reason owned you,
he
hit a homer, and we're like, oh, and you guys. This was when Sale was a youngster, but I just remember I didn't get a curveball.
Pretty good year last year.
But this was like 2012ish, 10, 12. Yeah. But I'm like, I just wanted to.
I'm glad I got you once.
Listen, a lot of people got. A lot of the guys got me once.
No?
Do I what?
Strikeout total.
I mean, I don't want to I don't want to say I don't care because it's obviously
that's
really
not
cool.
fair. Yeah.
And, the last one to do it was CC that was left-handed, and I have a ton of respect for what CC did in the game. And there hasn't been a lot of lefties to get to that point, so huge honor to be associated with that if it does happen. But at the end of the day, I'm here just because I want to pitch and be on a great team and win again. And I'm hopeful that I get back at it and feeling okay now. So I think I got a good chance to be a part of it in September, October, which is really why we all come back.
Yeah, and they're saying June, perhaps. I mean, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I think it's all on a good timeline. The foot is kind of weird. Not a lot of people have had this surgery, so there's not a lot of finite, milestones to make. But throwing some bullpens now and everything feels good. It's just kind of that last 10, 15% to really step on it. And I think if that goes well, I think that's fair. Yeah.
5 seconds. Roki as good as advertised?
Split special.
He's way bigger than I thought he was.
Yeah, he's a big dude. I think there's obviously some talent there for sure.
Yeah, they're saying here perhaps of the 3 Japanese-born pitchers, maybe the best stuff overall. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. Clayton Kershaw, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, to see you. Our best to Ellen and the kids. Have fun in Tokyo.
And bring back the ping pong tournament. Freddie wants to win again.
All right, I'll get it back.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Craig.
Very much. All right, guys.
Oh, sorry. Thanks, dude. It was fun. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
FT fam, if that was not a fast show, I do not know what was. That was awesome. All right, so let's go over a few things for the next few minutes. And then for the YouTube fan that's watching right now, Dodgers territory coming up next. They're going to cover news that's relevant for all of baseball right now. Is Dave Roberts getting an extension done with the Dodgers right before they're heading out to Japan. So if you want to learn more about that and how it compares to other manager contracts, they're going to cover that. Alanna and Clint coming soon. And they also happen to have a show tonight with Dave Roberts. They have an hour special live with him this evening. 8 o'clock East Coast time is when that one is set to go live on YouTube. So pretty good timing. No big deal. All right, let's go over, first of all, yes, that Monday, tonight, 8 o'clock East Coast time, 5 o'clock Pacific time. If you want to see Dave Roberts sitting down with the Dodgers territory crew, who of course get asked about this, but he's going to sit down and go over the decisions that he made that helped the Dodgers win a World Series. I think it's important to keep in mind the Dodgers didn't have this kind of setup last year as far as the rotation, and they were still able to pull off a World Series title. So they'll go over that. Also, I want to go over the rest of the day schedule-wise for us, aside from Dodgers territory in a couple minutes. I'll be back on Hot Sheet. We'll go over the mock draft that just came out from Baseball America, going over who the top pick is going to be in this year's draft. We also have some fantasy baseball advice with Jeff Ponce from Baseball America, so we're looking forward to that. And then after Baseball America Hot Sheet, we have a new regular in our rotation, Trevor May, who will also be a part of FT later on this week. He's got a Roki Sasaki breakdown among a ton of other topics. This isn't just the Dodgers Day, just so you know. Just so happens that Trevor's covering this today on May Day, his show. It's a 2-hour show. First hour is on the FT YouTube channel. He'll cover all of the news, so tons of injuries to cover. We talked about the Gerrit Cole injury from earlier. Trevor May will address that. He'll address the George Kirby injury and a lot more. He hits all of the news on his show. It's really good. So I advise you to check that out. And then lastly, the spring training schedule. As many of you have asked about it, we did a couple weeks in Florida. You can see what we accomplished already. The tour continues. The team is on the road in Arizona all week. So we are getting through Dodgers camp today. Tomorrow, we go to Diamondback camp and see if we can bother people like Corbin Burns, Zach Gallen, and many more, Ketel Marte. Texas Rangers camp on Wednesday. See if we can get a hold of Corey Seager, Jordan Montgomery, Marcus Semien, Wyatt Langford, and many more. White Sox camp with AJ Pierzynski is, in my mind, grab your popcorn, going to be freaking fun and hilarious. And then we'll hit up A's camp on Friday. Next week, we're actually back in Florida. Cam Maben is going to be down with us in Florida. That'll include Twins camp, Red Sox camp, and some others, which we'll release a little bit later on this week. So FT hitting just about every single camp. Hope you enjoyed this show. Thanks for sending in questions. We got to some of them. Thanks to the Dodgers PR for setting up Freddie Freeman and Evan Phillips and Brandon Gomes, their GM, and Clayton Kershaw at the end of the show. We got FT debuts from Kershaw and Freeman, who we hadn't had on the show, and kind of continues our checklist of getting every star player. We've had over 600 player guest spots over the first couple of years of the show's existence. So again, appreciate you, FT fam. Make sure you check out Dodgers Territory, Baseball America Hot Sheet, Trevor May's show, and our Doc Roberts special. All right. It's basically like a 24/7 network today on YouTube. I will see you later.